Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Crowd Chatter podcast. And today we have I'll be reviewing the college football coaching carousel for 2022. As I realized, as eventful as this past coaching carousel has been, I never actually did an episode on it, or for the NFL one for that matter, both of which have been very eventful. So I'll be reviewing both of those today, as there actually is no other videos for me to do, as I am going to actually do my MLB May review video a week early, because I am probably going to be on vacation in for the first week of June. So I'll be doing my May review a week early. It's not going to make much difference. Mostly, it's probably better that I do it a week early anyway, because there's only gonna be like one more day left in May, so it's probably better that I do the review next week. I'll also probably be doing a review of the NBA once again, as well. It looks like Golden State's going to blow away the Dallas Mavericks. Who knows with the other side, but it seems as though the NBA Finals is going to be here soon. So I'll be doing those videos next week. Um, and so, yeah, today is going to be coaching carousel for NCAA football and for the NFL. So we'll start with I'm just going to go in line with what CBS has here, as I'm using their website for this, which very nicely they have them all in line for me. They have all the names of everything. It's awesome. I love it. Anyways, the first team on here is Temple. Temple's not really obviously that big of a school, but they end up getting Stan Drayton, the Texas running backs coach. He takes over as the head coach for Rod Curry. I think is who that is. I don't really watch Temple football very much. I don't really even know much about Temple football. So um, we'll see how it goes. I guess like I said, I don't know much about this guy. I don't really know much about Temple either. So good luck to Mr. Stan Drayton. Next is one of the bigger changes of this coaching carousel. The Oregon Ducks lost Mario Cristobal as he headed out to his alma mater, who was calling his name, of the Miami, Florida Hurricanes. Mario Cristobal left for the Hurricanes. We'll talk about that later. So Georgia defensive coordinator Dan Lanning headed over to the Oregon Ducks. Be his first ever head coaching job. He did. I mean, obviously, we saw what Georgia's defense was like last season. Obviously, we know that Georgia defense was very talented. So whether that was because of his coaching or because of their just pure talent, I guess we'll find out. But this is an Oregon team that is very, very good. He takes over a Oregon team that Mario Cristobal has done an incredibly good job with. So we'll see if he can continue rolling with the Ducks. Their first game, of course, is actually going to be against his old school. He'll be against his old boss and Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs. So should be in it. We'll see how interesting of a game it will be. You'll have to wait for week one picks to figure out who I am taking. I will not tell you, but you can probably guess. The Duke Blue Devils were looking for a new head coach after Dave Cutcliffe. I guess that's who that is. After David Cutcliffe, I'm guessing that's what the name is. Got fired. I'm guessing. I think he got fired. They got Mike Elko, the defensive coordinator from Texas A&M. I mean, that's a solid hire. I mean, we saw Texas A&M. I mean, you get somebody whose former employer was Jimbo Fisher. So he stayed under a good head coach. Duke's not a good team, so I don't know how much success he'll have. But we'll see how it goes. Once again, I don't really watch Duke football. I watch Duke basketball, so don't really know much about him. Virginia joined in on the conversation late after Bronco Mendenhall ended up retiring, I believe. Yeah, I believe he retired. He decided to step down and essentially retire, I'm pretty sure. Which led to the Virginia Cavaliers going ahead and getting themselves Tony Elliott, the offensive coordinator from Clemson. He's been getting a lot of a lot of conversation around him about getting a new head coaching job somewhere. And this was the year he ended up going to Virginia. Virginia's got a decent team, it's a decent program. It's not a bad spot to be. We'll see how he does in his first season, but I mean, Virginia, they tend to be at least 500 team, maybe even a little bit better. Of course, a couple years ago, they made it to the ACC championship. Got creamed by Clemson, but they made it to the ACC championship game. So I think we can probably expect Virginia to have a middle-of-the-road year. Obviously, we saw what Tony Elliott has done with Clemson offenses, so we'll see if that translates over to Virginia. Next, we have Nevada, who lost Jay Norvell and got Ken Wilson, the inside linebackers coach from Oregon. Don't really know much about Ken Wilson. Don't really know much about Nevada football. But you have yourself a new head coach. Congratulations. And here's FIU. They fired Butch Davis and got themselves Mike McIntyre from Memphis, the former Memphis defensive coordinator. I don't watch FIU football. Don't really care, but I mean, you've probably seen all the grades by CBS here, but yeah, they don't necessarily they don't necessarily like this hiring, it would seem. So moving on, we have Fresno State as Kalen DeBoer. He left Florida State to go to Fresno State. He left the Fresno State Bulldogs as he got hired by Washington instead. And then a former Fresno State head coach who I think has been in retirement, I'm pretty sure. I think he's been in retirement. But the Fresno State Bulldogs, they end up going and getting Jeff Tedford, who was very good with Fresno State. Oh yes, there you go. He resigned because of health problems, but he's gonna be back. So yeah, he already has familiarity with the program. I guess his health issues have been resolved, and well, looks like he's back and ready to coach. So we'll see if Fresno State can still succeed with Mr. Tedford back. And speaking of the Miami Hurricanes, I talked about Mario Cristobal leaving Oregon, so here it is. Cristobal heading back to his alma mater, Miami, Florida, leaving Oregon after Manny Diaz, as many people have been wanting for so long, especially Miami fans, obviously, got fired and now is the defensive coordinator for Penn State. It's a good hire, honestly, by Penn State, like that. But Mario Cristobal, very good head coach. He was very good at Oregon. He comes back to his alma mater. He's always been good at recruiting. This is a very good head coach. We saw what he did with that Oregon program, and they were very, very good. Many good players have come from that Oregon program as well. I love this hiring by Miami, Florida. This could very well be the guy for Miami, Florida. He's from the Florida area, like I said. This is his alma mater, so he knows the Florida area. He's been there before. And, I mean, this is going to be I think this is a big-time hiring for the Hurricanes. They already have a big-time quarterback over there for Cristobal to work with. I think this is going to be a home run. I think this will be a home run hire for Miami, Florida. Expect this to be very good for the Hurricanes. I like this hiring for Miami, Florida. Next, we have Colorado State, so they took Jay Norvell, the former Nevada head coach. He was solid with Nevada, of course. He was head coach when Carson Strong was around. He's Carson Strong, decent quarterback. Norvell, that's solid hiring. He was a good head coach for Nevada. Colorado State's looking for some success. Their first game's going to be here, as their first game is in Ann Arbor against the Wolverines. So we'll see if Colorado State can be successful. They already lost to us in basketball, so maybe they can get revenge in football. I don't know. I'm hoping not, obviously, but we'll see. But that's their first game. They'll be in Michigan, so big time challenge for the brand new head coach right off the bat. Oklahoma needed a new head coach after Lincoln Riley stunned everybody and left for USC. We'll get to that later because that just came out of nowhere. But Brent Venables, the former Clemson defensive coordinator, swoops in for Oklahoma, becomes the new head coach here. Obviously, Oklahoma is in a lot of shambles right now, specifically because of Lincoln Riley leaving for USC. A lot of players end up following him to USC. And a lot of recruits followed Lincoln Riley. Followed Lincoln. Wow, I can't talk right now. A lot of current players and former recruits for Oklahoma followed Lincoln Riley to USC. Finally said that right. But Brent, I am so sorry, guys. I am really butchering everything right now. Brent Venables, the new head coach here. He has kind of given the program a little bit more stability. He's gotten at least some recruits to join the program. And once Oklahoma gets some stability and they get some coaches and Venables establishes, establishes a foundation. Once he gets his feet under him, Oklahoma will be itself again. But this is definite. But Lincoln Riley joining USC has been a huge blow for Oklahoma, and Brent Venables is stepping into a very, very tough position here. But he did get Dylan Gabriel from UCF to switch his transfer from UCLA to Oklahoma. So we'll see how Dylan Gabriel does with the Sooners. And then we have Louisiana gain a new head coach as Billy Napier ended up joining the Florida Gators. So, we'll talk about that later. But he joined the Florida Gators. So, Michael DeSormo. I don't know how I'm gonna pronounce that. I won't. I'll just say it's the Louisiana co-offensive coordinator. So Louisiana stays in-house. They promote their co-offensive coordinator to the head coach to take over for Billy Napier. I don't know much about Louisiana football, but it's never usually a bad thing to promote somebody within your program who people already like. And I haven't heard anything bad about this of promoting this guy. As I'm reading, it says he's a former Louisiana quarterback, so he already has familiarity with the program. Like I said, most times when you promote somebody within your own program, it's normally not a bad thing. So I'm thinking this will end up it'll be a nice hiring. Don't know if the Raging Cajuns are going to do what they did last year, but, solid hire. The Akron Zips made another head coaching change as Tom Arth, soon got fired. And Joe Moorhead, the Oregon offensive coordinator, who already has had coaching experience, heads to Akron. So, interesting move here by the Akron Zips. I'm sorry. Interesting, shocking move by Akron that they were able to pull Joe Moorhead over to their program, as he is a good coach. And I think this definitely could work out for Akron. This is a team that never does anything. But he already has coaching experience. But it got a very good. But Akron has a very good head coach now. On his team has a good head coach now. That's weird to say. So we'll see if Akron maybe can do a little bit better in the MAC. I don't know, but definitely way better to have somebody like Joe Moorhead as your head coach. Next was another shocking move. Notre Dame found himself in the coaching carousel after Brian Kelly left for LSU. Another hiring that we will talk about later. But Notre Dame, instead of going somewhere and trying to find the biggest and best hire, they ended up just promoting their defensive coordinator, Marcus Freeman, who this is a very young guy who did very good with that defense. I think this is going to be a good hire for Notre Dame. Of course, his first day coaching with Notre Dame was the bowl game against Oklahoma State, of which they blew a gigantic lead and lost. But this is a guy who seems that all the players love. They all love Marcus Freeman. As I said, he's also a very young guy. I think in time this will end up being a very good hiring for Notre Dame. He's already doing a pretty good job. I think with the 2023 class, he's already like number one. Has the number one recruiting class right now in 2023. Obviously, it's a long ways away. That'll probably change, but it's very nice to be able to get a good head start like that. I love this hiring by Notre Dame. Don't love Notre Dame, but I like the hire. I think it'll work out very well for the Fighting Irish. Next, we have Troy, who ended up got rid of Chip Lindsey. I think they ended up firing him, or maybe he left for somewhere else. I don't know, honestly. But they got John Sumrall, a Kentucky inside linebacker coach. Seems he was with the staff at Troy for a while. Don't watch Troy football, so I don't really know much about this one. So congratulations, Troy. I mean, don't really know much about it, but new head coach for Troy. Virginia Tech, they got themselves a new head coach after Justin Fuente was fired. I'm pretty sure he ended up getting fired. And Brent Pry, the Penn State defensive coordinator, was hired by Virginia Tech. He did serve as a graduate assistant at VT for a little bit. Brent Pry did a very good job at Penn State's defense last year. While the offense was atrocious, the defense is what kept Penn State in pretty much every game. That Penn State defense was nasty. So I think this could be a nice hiring for Virginia Tech. He did a good job with that Penn State defense. He did it succeeded it very much succeeded. It was very good. So very impressed. But I think this will be a nice hire. We'll see how it goes. But Virginia Tech, not really much on that team. But we'll find out what this team looks like in a couple years. Next is LSU. I had talked about Brian Kelly jumping ship from Notre Dame to LSU. So here it is. Brian Kelly shocked the world leaving Notre Dame for LSU. I love this hire. Brian Kelly is an outstanding head coach. Obviously he is number 3 among active football coaches in wins. But he's never really been he hasn't really been in the South before. I think this will still be a great hire though. I will forever miss Coach O. We all will miss Coach O. We will all miss that Southern. He was the best. We all will miss Ed Ogeron. I'm sorry. I loved Coach O. He was awesome. I will miss him so much. He was so fun. I love this every time hearing him just say, "Go Tigers." There's nothing better than that after every single interview, just hearing Coach O at the very end, "Go Tigers." Won the championship and didn't last much longer, shockingly enough. Brian Kelly heads to LSU, the new head coach in town. LSU, we'll see how they look with Brian Kelly, but I think it might take at least a year or two for him to adjust to the South because he has not been in the South before. He's never been to the South, and he is getting older. So we'll see. But we know that he's a good coach and that he can win. And so we'll see if it translates to LSU. But definitely a lot of potential there. The LA Tech ended up getting themselves also a new head coach after Skip Holtz. I don't know what happened to Skip Holtz. I do know that he's now the head coach of the USFL's Birmingham Stallions, who have been very, very good so far. They are still undefeated in the USFL. I have watched a little USFL, of course, mostly because my family loves the USFL, and they watch it like every single day that they can. But I've had to watch it pretty much because that's all they will watch, unless I head to the basement and I watch by myself and watch something else because I want to watch, I don't know, the NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs. But Skip Holtz, I don't remember if he got fired or if he simply just left. But either way, Sonny Cumbie, the Texas Tech offensive coordinator, comes over to LA Tech. Don't know much about really LA Tech or Sonny Cumbie, but that is LA Tech's new head coach. Here is the dropping of the bomb right here. Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma jumps ship from Oklahoma to USC. USC had finally fired Clay Helton. This is by far the best hiring of this entire carousel. You got a coach in Lincoln Riley who not only is a great offensive mind, but has brought Oklahoma to multiple college playoff appearances. He has led multiple quarterbacks into the NFL. He led. He's coached up. I'm pretty sure he coached up Baker Mayfield. He coached up Baker Mayfield. He coached up Kyler Murray. He coached up Jalen Hurts. Guess what? They're all starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And multiple receivers have come from his program. Marquise Brown's been a little inconsistent, but C.D. Lamb. We all know C.D. Lamb is an outstanding player. His success with Oklahoma has been outstanding. He's also young. He has, as they say, he has some creativity. He's very creative. He comes up with crazy stuff. He has a great offensive mind and a great head coach. Defense has been a little bit of a concern, but he's been incredible for Oklahoma even without that defense. This is a home run hire for USC. They had to have just given them like a blank check and said, "Here, what do you want? We'll give it to you." It's the only reason why Lincoln Riley would go to USC, in my opinion. I mean, because you're comfortable at Oklahoma. I mean, unless USC just said, "Hey, we'll give you like all the money you want," and yeah, it is ridiculous how much money that he's getting. But this is an outstanding hire for USC, and as I mentioned with Oklahoma, he didn't just go by himself. But he took everybody with him. He took Caleb Williams with him. He took Mario Williams with him. He took Travis Dye from Oregon. He's taken Domani Jackson from our stinking clutches. You turkey. I wanted William Johnson and Domani Jackson on the same team. But Domani Jackson, big-time corner recruit, going to USC. He also brought in another 2 wide receivers, Terrell Bynum from Washington, Jerry Rice's son from Colorado. He also has another wide receiver, I think, coming in. I mean, The amount of transfers that he has received. Oh, they also got. I'm sorry, that's a receiver. I'm forgetting. They got Jordan Addison. So they have Jordan Addison, who won the award for the top receiver in the entire country last year. They have Mario Williams, who transferred from Oklahoma, great wide receiver. Terrell Bynum, Washington's top wide receiver, and Jerry Rice's son. And they also have the big-time Oregon running back in Travis Dye. They have Caleb Williams, who obviously transferred out from Oklahoma, came over. They, of course, lost both Keaton Slavis and Jackson Dart. They both left. But who cares? You now have Caleb Williams. The USC offense has just been completely redone. And the defense, you have Domani Jackson. You've lost a couple other players. But I'm sure that Lincoln Riley, we'll see what USC looks like in year one. But my gosh, the Trojans, look out. Because USC, we all know what USC was quite a few years, like 15, 16 years ago in the 2000s, how good they were year by year by year. They've been a far cry from that for quite some time. I think this might be the grand return of the Trojans, because this is the head coach they're looking for, and they finally have him. And if he can continue gain recruits like this and gain transfers in like this, specifically recruits, the Trojans are going to be among the top teams every year once again. But moving on from that crazy hire, it really just came out of nowhere. Could not believe that. TCU, they ended up firing Gary Patterson after almost 20 years, I believe. He had been at TCU for a very long time. He ends up getting fired. And then they got the head coach from their crosstown rival in SMU. They took Sonny Dykes from SMU. Very interesting hire. Very surprised that they're even able to get that hire, considering what's been happening with TCU and SMU in recent years, especially this past year, all the hullabaloo at the end. But good hire by TCU. Sonny Dykes, he brought that SMU program out of the ground. That SMU program had never seen the light of day since the death penalty, as everyone loves to call it. And he brought that program out of the ground. He got them ranked multiple times. And he's made SMU a good team again. Not necessarily relevant, but a good team. Like, SMU is actually a good team again. And so now he goes over to TCU to try and revive the Horned Frog program. I like this. I think this will work out well for TCU, and maybe we can see the Horned Frogs get that success back in what will be a weaker Big 12 soon with no Oklahoma and Texas in it. Washington, as I said earlier, Kalen DeBoer jumped ship from Fresno State to Washington. Jimmy Lake got fired after a interaction with a player, I believe. I don't remember if he slapped the player, I believe, or something like that. But I think he slapped the player and he got fired immediately after. Kalen DeBoer jumped from Fresno State. I want to say Florida State. I don't know. From Fresno State over to Washington. Solid hire. Not exactly the biggest name in the world, but he was good with Fresno State. He played well. And he already has brought a quarterback to Washington, as he brought Michael Penix Jr. over from Indiana. Of course, he had one really good year. Then he got hurt a billion times and hasn't looked the same since. So maybe Kalen DeBoer can unlock that first year from Penix again back in Washington. They will play Michigan State this year, and it's a home game for Washington, so that'll be a big game for DeBoer and Michigan State, but specifically for DeBoer being a new head coach. SMU, I already talked about Sonny Dykes leaving for TCU. And now Rhett Lashley, the Miami offensive coordinator, is heading to SMU. he was good with Miami, Florida. He's done a good job with the Miami, Florida quarterbacks. So we can see. We'll see if he can do more the same with SMU. But it's a good name. He's a good head. He was, like I said, he was a good offensive coordinator for Miami. And we'll see if, and he already was with SMU as an assistant a couple years back. So now he returns to SMU. We'll see if he can continue to revive the SMU program and maybe bring it back to his big time days. Billy Napier, we already talked about him leaving Louisiana for Florida. Dan Mullen ended up getting fired. So Billy Napier comes over from Louisiana to Florida. He is from the South, so he knows the area, of course. He obviously had quite a few good seasons with the Ragin' Cajuns. My only concern with this hire, I know CBS seems to like it, but my concern with this hire is how will he adjust to the SEC? Because, man, Brian Kelly, that was a different discussion because he's from a huge program. Notre Dame has endured big-time teams before. It'll still be an adjustment for Brian Kelly in the South because he has been in the North like all of his life. But Billy Napier, he played in the Sun Belt. The Ragin' Cajuns aren't in a huge conference, so now he's joining a huge Florida program, which they had a really good season with Dan Mullen, but now they're really looking for something out of Billy Napier. He did bring one good recruit to Florida, I'm pretty sure. But we'll see how this works. Because Napier's first game is going to be against the Utah Utes. And it's going to be a home game. And, I don't know if people are expecting him to win that game, but that's definitely going to be pretty telling of but that game could be telling of what this season's going to look like for the Florida Gators. That's a big one for Billy Napier. He's getting a big test early on. We'll see how that goes. This could be a decent hire. I don't know much about Billy Napier, but he had a really good year last year with the Ragin' Cajuns. Of course, like I said, that's the Ragin' Cajuns. That's the Sun Belt. That's not the SEC. This is definitely going to be an adjustment for Mr. Napier. Maybe he adjusts. Maybe he doesn't. We'll find out. New Mexico State with a new coach. Doug Martin, I think, got fired. I'm pretty sure he got fired. And Jerry Kill announced that he would be joining the New Mexico Aggies. Or New Mexico State Aggies, I'm sorry. Don't know much about Jerry Kill. Don't know much about Doug Martin. Don't know much about New Mexico State. So I don't really know what to say about this one. So I'll just say, but you got a new head coach. Like I said, don't know really much more than that. Washington State, they have a new head coach. Yes, this list is still going. It's very long. Washington State, their head coach, most of the year, we would not, because in Washington, I think all Washington, workers or something like that. It was something about the head coach for Washington State it was a requirement that the Washington State coach get vaccinated. Guy refused. So Washington State fired him. I'm not going to address whether or not that was wrong, but that's what happened. And so the interim head coach, which was Jake Dickert, is just being made the head coach now. So once again, a in-house hiring. That's don't know much about Jake Dickert. Don't really know much about Washington State, but they will also get an early test this year as Washington State is heading out to Camp Randall in Wisconsin. So that'll be a big game for the Cougars if they can win that. I don't think they will. But definitely interesting to see how that one will go for Washington State and how this year goes for the brand new head coach who already had a decent start last year when he took over for Nick Rolovich. Yeah, so both Washington and Washington State, both Washington colleges have new head coaches technically. So now Georgia Southern, they fired Chad Lunsford. And they're the ones that ended up with Clay Helton. Now, Georgia Southern's a pretty small program, but Clay Helton, as much as USC people hated him, he was still good with USC. And he is a good head coach. Now, who knows what he'll do with Georgia Southern? But like I said, the guy is a good head coach. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he wasn't necessarily a good fit for USC, and he didn't necessarily do a great job at USC. But this is still a head coach who is pretty darn good. And for a program like Georgia Southern, yeah, that's 100% a huge win for them. And so UConn continues to just go through all kinds of problems as now they have a new head coach. Randy Edsall was fired, I believe, and now Jim Mora has become the new head coach for UConn. Don't ask me why or how, why on earth, because I really don't know. I think I actually just realized all three of Michigan's non-conference opponents have new head coaches, so that's interesting too. But I mean, he has been in the NFL. He hasn't coached for a while, I don't think. I really have no idea how this will go. Not the biggest fan of it though, especially because of Jim Mora's. I don't know. Who knows? I don't see it going all that well though. UMass, they got rid of Walt Bell and did the unthinkable by getting Don Brown. Us Michigan fans know Don Brown very well. Most of us, I'll say pretty much all of us, no, not fans of him. But he has been a UMass head coach before, so UMass is simply bringing him back to the program to be the new head coach for their program. He was recently the defensive coordinator for Arizona, which we all saw Arizona last year. So I'm not gonna. I'm just saying, but this is the last hiring, finally, of this entire NCAA football coaching carousel, with Matt Wells leaving Texas Tech. For what reason, I can't remember. But Joey McGuire, the linebackers coach from Baylor, joins the Texas Tech program as the new head coach. He's from the Texas area, knows the area, of course. So I don't know much about him, but he's a Hall of Fame high school coach. So we'll see if maybe his high school prowess leads to some success with the college level, now being the head coach over at Texas Tech. We'll see how it works. But definitely could be a nice hiring for the Aggies. Finally, we are done. A lot of head coach hirings. If you're asking me, I already kind of gave my thoughts on who I think was the best hiring of this entire class. But I think everyone would say the exact same thing. You're not beating Lincoln Riley to USC. That was a bomb dropping there. I mean, I could not believe that USC was able to pry away Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma, by the way. Not like a smaller program needs a growing coach. No, they got Oklahoma's head coach to just jump ship. Shocking move there by USC. But I think that 100%, and especially with already as many guys coming over to USC, and it was really not the greatest Pac-12 conference, they are going to be scary good within the next few years. And this year, they might already be ridiculously good. So I'd watch out for the Trojans. I think that program is going to see a revival very soon. But that's all I got for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next up will be the NFL coaching carousel. So, until next time, everyone, adios, everyone.